Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Well, good morning. Good morning. It's January 30th, and we're still here. This is happening so fast that our heads are spinning, which I suspect is exactly what Steve Bannon has in mind. Chaos, disrupt us, give us so much stuff to deal with that eventually we just sort of collapse. I'm not sure he's going to win that fight. I doubt it, frankly. But this is frightening, what's going on. I had an idea. I was driving to a friend's home for dinner last night, and I had an idea. And frankly, I think it's brilliant. And I tweeted it, and apparently a lot of other people think it's pretty damn good, too, because I've never had anything get retweeted more or liked more. I mean, it's just out there. I was thrilled. And here's what I suggested. I'm praying for this. I want to see all of the presidents of the United States, people who've held that office, who are alive and able. I'm talking about, obviously, Jimmy Carter, both Bushes, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. I want them to get together and draft some kind of a statement. A statement. I'm not sure exactly what it would say, but it would be unprecedented and powerful. If all the people still alive who have held the position that Donald Trump now holds, if they were to stand united against what this administration, just 10 days in, is doing to the country. That's what I want to see. Obama, when he was leaving, said that he isn't going to speak out unless certain, he drew red lines, right? Certain lines. And one of those lines was, I think, had to do with exactly what's happened this weekend. And so I really think that he needs cover, and it would be a lot more powerful if all these presidents, not just the Democrats, they need both Bushes, were to be able to agree on something, some statement. That's my idea. I'm just saying. Obviously, a lot happened since we last spoke. The most frightening thing that has happened is not the directive regarding Muslim immigrants and refugees. It is the elevation of white nationalist, purveyor of chaos, Breitbart head, Steve Bannon, to the National Security Council. If that doesn't scare you, then nothing will. It is, again, as so much with this administration, unprecedented. George W. Bush would never let Karl Rove, it would be the same as putting Karl Rove on the National Security Council. He was never allowed into an NSC meeting because the NSC is all about security. And the last thing you want getting involved, if what you're talking about is securing the country and its people is someone who you don't want people who see things through a political filter. You try as hard as you can to get politics out of the room. I'm sure that's difficult, maybe impossible, but good heavens, Steve Bannon? And not just Steve Bannon. He demoted from the National Security Council his own director of intelligence. It's the National Security Council, the director of intelligence, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's the top intelligence official and the top military official. Obviously, two people who should be in, and always have been, the National Security Council. They now can come to meetings only if invited. I guess by Steve Bannon. That is the terrifying thing. Because Bannon is truly out to destroy the world as we know it. He is. And to destroy this country as we know it. Remember, he quite clearly crowed that his Breitbart News was the mouthpiece of the alt-right. We know what the alt-right is, right? They're haters. They're, as Aziz Ansari said, it's a small cap KKK. It's the new iteration. If you'll allow me, I would like to read to you an editorial that appeared in a Texas newspaper, making it all the more astonishing, in fact, the Houston Chronicle today. Just remember, this is the Houston Chronicle editorial. Where else could Lady Liberty be but in New York Harbor, gateway to a vibrant nation of exiles and refugees? She has held high her beacon of light, hope, and new beginnings since 1886. And now her light has been extinguished. The ideals engraved on her pedestal defaced into mockingly ironic graffiti, with one cruel and ill-conceived executive order, this nation has entered a disorienting dusk. How long the torch of liberty remains dark depends on the strength and fierce commitment of liberty-loving Americans everywhere. With every legal, nonviolent means available, this nation must resist a president enthralled to a man who, until invited into the White House, presided over a noxious website that traffics in white supremacy, anti-Semitism, bizarre conspiracy theories, and fake news. It's apparently Stephen Bannon's cowardly nativist notions that the president was implementing when he temporarily banned people from 7 predominantly Muslim nations from entering the country and indefinitely suspended the resettlement of refugees from Syria. And they go on. They say this: Trump's cruel and intemperate campaign language has become, with shocking immediacy, cruel and intemperate action. His order, craven and xenophobic, irrational and counterproductive, is an affront to American values. The words of various apologists for the president's unconstitutional order brought to mind John Kasich's presidential campaign ad from back in November. That ad paraphrased the haunting words of the late German pastor and concentration camp survivor Martin Niemöller, who warned that by ignoring threats against others, there would eventually be nobody left to speak for me. And the Houston Chronicle today finishes its editorial thusly: not to be alarmist, but that warning is beginning to look prescient, particularly in America's most diverse city, a city that long has welcomed refugees and immigrants, a city that recognizes and celebrates their contribution. We must resist. In the courts, in the streets, through phone calls and emails to our elected representatives, we must speak out on behalf of sacred American values. We must stand tall against this president, as tall as that majestic lady who once lifted her lamp beside the golden door. That's the Houston Chronicle. Can you believe it? Wow. I'm also beginning to see a lot more things worrying about a coup. That these guys are setting up and positioning themselves to have just a very small knot of people within the White House. And I mean, it is small. We can see who's got the power. And it is Bannon and Kushner, the son-in-law. Those are the two biggies. And also Steve Stone, who is under Bannon. Stone? I'm not sure if I have his name right. These are the guys. And they're fascists. I don't know how else to typify them. They're fascists. And they are moving baldly and boldly to remake this country. It's frightening. This is from our foreign correspondent, Bree Freeman, who's always in the Middle East and or the Far East. He writes this: by now, you will have read about the confusion, anger, and fury that Trump's travel ban has caused. The magnitude of this colossal blunder is unparalleled in modern times. Across this region, Trump has sown and spread a tremendous amount of negative seeds, if you will. Seeds that can only hurt, not help the very idea he is discussing. We gotta beat these Muslim terrorists. Well, you don't do it by offending the entire Muslim world, who we need on our side. Back to Bree, Trump's actions are being characterized as that of a radical Christian extremist. I cannot begin to tell you the tremendous amount of ill will that this debacle is creating among millions of decent, hardworking, regular people. It has everyone around the world wondering if it is safe to come to the United States. Overnight, America's reputation has plummeted. I am not kidding. The general attitude towards the U.S. is that it is now a banana republic, no different from numerous other countries that lack a coherent, cohesive government. The evidence behind such sentiments is growing. If Trump continues to implement erratic and confusing edicts, the world will back further and further away from us. There are many of us Americans who earn a living abroad. It doesn't look good for us. He is making things very difficult. And his action in this case, for sure, is having the exact opposite effect that he thinks. When I was coming into work today, Trump was Trumpifying. He was making some extemporaneous remarks at a meeting of people he's with, some small businesses, I don't know. He actually said that yesterday, Sunday, was a great day for his administration. But we know now that up is down, black is white, war is peace. He has also tweeted that all those crowds at the airport were the result of a computer glitch with Delta Airlines. I'm not kidding you. Now, there was a reported Delta Airlines computers got screwed up at some point. He is now saying that that is what the crowds were. As if those... You mean all those people were getting on Delta flights with signs? How is anyone who prides themselves on being sentient, of being able to make choices that make sense, how is anyone capable of choosing to be played by this con man? That's what I don't get. Where's the self-respect of people who are willing to swallow this crap that comes out of his mouth? My God. I don't know where to start. My guess is that you guys are as much up on this stuff as I, if not in some cases more. Maureen Dowd, who I don't like, did say one thing finally that I agree with, and it's something I'm passing on because it gives me pause and makes me even more certain that panic is not to feel panic is not a crazy response to these people. She says this: those who go into the Oval Office with chips on their shoulders and deep wells of insecurity, like Nixon. They come in with chips on their shoulders, and they're really extremely insecure people, like Nixon, like George W., and like Trump. Just because they enter the White House does not mean that they're going to all of a sudden glow with self-assurance. In fact, quite the opposite, because the White House tends to bring out paranoia and insecurity in these men. And I'm quite sure that that is correct. The ACLU this weekend had over $20 million sent to them over the internet. $20 million this weekend. Do you know what they get over the internet in a normal year? 3 million. In a normal year, 3 million. In a day and a half, over 20 million. That is gratifying. The crowds, the spontaneous demonstrations this weekend were gratifying. And there is now a sense, and should be, that the American people will not go quietly. We will not. We will fight these people every inch of the way. So, it'd be nice to hear from you. We've got a new, got our fancy new phone system, right? And I'm thrilled, although now I'm not seeing my thing here. Huh? And I hope you see the new phone number. That's what came up. Excuse us. I want to just
click those dots there, like the square of dots.
Okay. Oh no, I screwed up. Okay, so I'm trying to get to Google Docs. If you see the new phone number, it is 412-200-5686. Okay? 412-200-5686. And it's obviously a much better system. You don't come directly on air, and you can give your name. You'll not just be the generic caller. And also, you can just keep coming. We'll put you on hold, but you can. We've never had that option, and that is just wonderful. So it's weird. You guys are quiet today. I would think today, unless everybody's just sort of paralyzed, which I completely understand, because I think we all are. I was in such a foul mood yesterday because I can't just take it in all the time and not get so nervous that somebody says something to me and I want to snap their head off because I'm thinking, what are we talking about that for? The fucking country is going away, my God! Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Some of you are telling me what I just said. Okay, Lynn. Ansel writes, Democrats appear to be helpless and ineffective in all of this. I saw photos of Pelosi looking adoringly at Trump this weekend. What? If we are to ever throw this administration out, it won't be the Democrats that do it. It will have to come from his own party. Over the weekend, I heard McCain, McConnell, and Cheney speak out against this ban. McConnell? I don't think so. He spoke out against it? I don't think so. Yeah, more Republicans have to come to the fight. It's the only way. But I disagree about, I think the Democratic Party and its leaders are either going to have to get on board. with where the people are, or they're going to be toast. And I think that's pretty clear. And any Democrat, I don't care how senior, who is not paying attention to the people who are coming out into the streets like that, true, spontaneous demonstrations filling America's streets and airports in this case. If they ain't paying attention to those people, I'm talking about the Democrats in office, they will be gone. There is little doubt in my mind. The people are leading now. Okay, let's did the same thing again. Okay. We have a call from Mary? Okay. Mary, hi.
And are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Hey, Lynn. I'll tell you what. I thought I was doing okay. I was doing okay until it was early in the weekend when I heard. It was on Charlie Rose. So I don't listen. I try to listen to what I would consider rational information and news, and processing the alternate truth really shook me up. But whenever there was I can't remember who it was on Charlie Rose, and the man said about the way Trump is antagonizing the world, that warfare is going to come to the United States. This was just, are you kidding me?
No, I think, you know what? No, I think there's truth in that. And I think what they might be trying to do is exactly that. I think Bannon's goal is truly to destabilize the government, to taunt, to create havoc. We're going to lose all our allies because they won't know if they can ever trust us. They want to in every way. Literally, I remember like a year ago I was saying, how could you elect a man who is clearly intent on throwing a grenade into the whole world order, the globe, just because things ain't going exactly like you want? This is what they're going to do. And I do think the possibility of war is greater than it's ever been. Stop and think. Stop and think what happened with the mosque terrorism in Canada last night. 6 Muslims in Canada killed. That is a terrorist attack. The terrorists are not Muslims. Muslims are the victims. And this is the kind of thing that Trump and Bannon are creating. And believe me, there are Muslims now who want to hit us like they haven't hit us before. And once that happens, what will their reaction be to a terror attack here? Huh? What would that be?
And the form of warfare is not going to be it's going to be, there is actual psychological warfare from our own administration, but what it'll be will be germ warfare. It'll be cyber warfare. It'll be chemical warfare. These are the irretrievable, because I thought, wait a minute, we all lived through the Bush administration. At the time I thought, hold on, we were going to lose the Supreme Court back then, and all this, and the pendulum swung back, and that's what I've been trying to hold on to now, saying, oh, you know what, the pendulum will swing back, but
this is
how does it swing back?
The pendulum. Forget the pendulum right now. We're in a different. We're in different territory. We're in different territory. Mary.
And it just totally, this weekend, it shut me down.
Sure.
That just shut me down, and I'm
I understand.
here.
I know.
Struggling like
I know.
I've never struggled before.
Right. Well, hang on.
No, Lynn,
Because
what
you
about-
gotta keep your stuff together. I'm freaking out too, but we gotta keep our eye on the prize, and the prize is taking our country back, and we got to do that in a smart way. I got to move on, but thank you for your
Hey,
call.
Lynn, what about the are you there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What about the Roosevelt? Do you remember when Roosevelt, the rumors of he dropped into World War II to get us out of the Depression?
Yeah.
I'm stretching here.
Well.
And I thought when you were saying that gather up the presidents, your idea of gathering the past presidents, I thought you were going to say to do an intervention.
Well, it would be a kind of intervention, but the fact is they're past presidents. There's only one president, and he is an unstable puppet of a fascist. That's what we got going right now in this country. And if you ain't scared, you're stupid. Okay?
Yeah.
So the default position is yes, we're scared. We are scared. But we got to keep our heads, because fear often makes you react in stupid ways, and this is just beyond belief. But thank you for the call, Mary. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. So, the fact that Bannon pushed this through, that the people who should have been able to sign off on it were not even in the loop. The head of the Department of Homeland Security never saw this final executive order. As a matter of fact, he was in a plane in a conference call about it with some other people, and one of them had the television on in his office, and he says, "Oh my God, he just signed it." And this is when the head of the Department of Homeland Security is trying to get to him and get it. And you saw what happened. You saw what happened. Absolute chaos. Also, the Secretary of Defense, Mad Dog Mattis, has apparently been muzzled. Nobody has. Have you heard from him? Because here is what he said during his hearings. He said that a ban on Muslim immigration to the United States would cause us great damage, and it would send shockwaves through the international system. He's not in the inner circle either. Beth writes, just for your information, we have been trying to get a live voice at Senator Toomey's office now since Thursday. We have tried all the offices listed below, all recorded messages. Tried calling his Washington office to say no one is answering at your regional offices, and all you get is another automated voice saying leave a message. Every other senator we have called, we have been able to get a real person. Well, I guess Toomey really wants to represent us. Huh? You know where he was? He was with the Koch brothers this weekend. That's where he was. Extraordinary. Really extraordinary. Josh says, a little off subject, I saw Bill Maher the other day, so die. He mentioned that the Democratic Party went from the party that protects people and instead became the party that protects feelings. I thought it was a really good. That was on his New Rules segment. It was good. He was referring to the hyper PC word police and safe spaces people, and maybe that's why the Democrats lost the election. He may have a point. Now we get an administration that will do a lot more than hurt people's feelings. Yeah, if you get a chance, check out what Maher said about that. I mean, I'm totally on board with what he said. So. They're saying that terrorists have a new and obvious target, writes RJ, and that would be Trump hotels and Trump resorts and golf courses all over the world. And I don't want to see American troops having to guard his private holdings. Dorothea says, I watched Meet the Press yesterday. Chuck Todd asked Tim Kaine a simple question. What are the Democrats' strategy? What is it for strategy for opposing Trump on these issues? And Kaine ran off a list of things they support, such as the Women's March. But he couldn't describe anything that resembled any action items. He was clueless. That tells me the Democrats are floundering. And I have 3 words for Kellyanne Conway. Lock her up. Yeah. Yeah, well, the Democrats, as I said, they will be tossed out. This, if we even have another election, if we even have a midterm election, if we manage to get 2 years in without Trump, Bannon creating some emergency situation where for some reason the elections would be canceled or whatever. And your imagination knows no bounds now because we have an administration in control and a Congress aiding and abetting him who has crossed all boundaries and clearly will continue to do so. So in trying to imagine what's coming down the pike next, believe me, there are no boundaries to what you can imagine. Even the little stuff, like the proclamation for Holocaust Remembrance Day, that didn't even mention the word Jew. That's a little thing, but then when asked on Meet the Press, Reince Priebus said that was not an omission. We did that on purpose. That's what he said. It's going to be hard to keep up with this craziness. But we got to. We've got to. So, one of the ways Americans are trying to get their heads around what's happening so that they can maybe get ahead of it, of what might be coming, and I'm sure you've heard this, is they are reading books. They are reading books that envisioned this. You know that sales of books like George Orwell's 1984, you can't even find them. The sales, let me see what the publishing sales are. They'd be on belief. 1984, since the inauguration, sales of that novel have risen 10,000%. One that I want to read, Sinclair Lewis's It Can't Happen Here, which is was written 82 years ago, and Sinclair Lewis imagining a fascist takeover in the United States. Its sales have risen 1,100%. These are dystopian. That's a word we're getting to know. What happens after the unimaginable happens? Looking at what we have come to. And the fact that Americans are wanting to read these imaginings of novelists who warned us is good. Novelist Gary Steingart, who has written a dystopian novel called Super Sad True Love Story, said this: many of these books are becoming more important to the American reader because they want to know what's next. Because we've never been through this before. Language is being used to destabilize people's perception of reality. He's dead on. Language, they're trying to make language meaningless, which is why you have pronouncements like this, the rollout of this ban was seamless, was extraordinary, was so well planned. Again, it's the black is white stuff. It is right out of Orwell. It is right out of Orwell. You take words and language and you use them as weapons so that they don't mean anything anymore. And what it does is it destabilizes individuals and whole communities and whole nations. Language is being used to destabilize people's perception of reality. And while that's new to us, if you talk to anyone who's ever lived in a totalitarian state, they will tell you, yeah, that's what it's like. You're told what to think. If it bears no resemblance to what your own eyes are telling you, tough, you better think what they're telling you reality is, because otherwise there are consequences. This is what autocrats do. It's out of the... And this is Bannon. This is Bannon. Here's another thought I had today. More of a prayer. I know Bannon is evil. I know he's a megalomaniac. I know he's smart. I'm just hoping he ain't as smart as he thinks he is. I'm just hoping that he'll overreach. I mean, obviously I think he already has, but I don't know. He'll stumble somehow. He'll screw up. I think he's a bit surprised at the spontaneity of the reaction of this weekend. But he'll figure out a way to play it. You know? He's smart. An evil genius. I just hope he's not as smart as he thinks. The former U.S. ambassador to, this guy served the Republican administration. He's, you know the name, Ryan Crocker, excuse me. And he served as ambassador to a number of Muslim countries. Afghanistan, Iraq, Lebanon. And he's just incredulous at what Trump, Bannon have done. He said, the Islamic State says it is leading the war against the United States, and now it only has to pump out the White House press releases. He said these executive orders are alienating the pro-Western elites that Americans turn to for help in Muslim countries. And he says, and by this executive order breaks promises to people who have risked their lives, like not letting these people who took bullets, and we won't let them in because they're Muslim? All right. We got a call. Hello?
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike in D.C.
Hi, Mike.
The books we should be reading isn't how to deal with a totalitarian administration. It should be how people survive the Great Depression. Because I think that's what's coming next. Business thrives on consistency and predictability. And eventually the stock market is going to crash because of all of this. And bad.
That's certainly a distinct possibility. A lot of those people voted for Trump because they figured he was, he's going to reduce their taxes. And then...
which is another... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And which is another thing, because of his trade wars, they think that he's going to make things better when the trade wars are only going to make the price of food and everything else 20 to 40% higher than we already have.
Right.
Some of the articles I've been reading say.
Right.
So even if the stock market doesn't crash, prices will be so high because anybody who imports anything gets taxed at a higher rate than people who make things here do. But nobody makes things here.
We don't make much. That's true.
And then when they do make things here, like peaches in Atlanta, because of their immigration policies, we won't have anybody to pick them. Because Americans will not pick vegetables and fruit.
No. This is true. But they may be forced to because there's nothing else that they'll be able to do. No, I mean, when, dystopian... imaginings are, I suppose, all the rage now because we really can't imagine where this is going to end. Can you? Do you see you're saying it'll end in, massive economic depression. I think it could end in real war, in the loss of liberty and freedom and everything that we as Americans supposedly value, in a change in alliances with countries who we've been with forever, and instead allying with people like Putin. I don't know. Is maybe when I should stop saying Trump Bannon and just start saying Trump Bannon Putin, because that's sort of who's running the country, it seems now. I mean, certainly who's benefiting. Russia is benefiting big time by what's going on here.
Well, the stock for the war profiteering companies have benefited dramatically.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Particularly after Trump said he's going to do a hiring freeze for all government agencies.
Yeah, but then he said he's going to hire 5,000 border guards.
Right.
He doesn't know what the hell. He doesn't have a... at the very time he's keeping families from being reunited, families with proper papers who've been vetted for years and years and years. You see what movie he was showing at the White House?
No.
Yesterday afternoon at 3 p.m., And it was a family event, so families of his staff were invited to the screening room, and they all watched Finding Dory, which I believe is about a fish trying to reunite with her family. And it's a tearjerker. Meanwhile, in reality, that was what was happening. People coming to be with sick mothers or sick children were turned away. There are more horror stories when you just get to the personal impact on people. He has destroyed already people's lives and put some people in extreme danger. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking about the poor people in Oakland. How many people in Oakland at CMU and at Pitt are scared out of their minds right now? And how many of them, if they go home to their countries, will ever step foot in this country again? I'm sure the leadership of universities all over the country are going berserk.
Which is a huge moneymaker for them, too. Part of the reason
Right.
So many international people get in is because they pay top dollar.
That's right. But also, the way we get ahead is you attract the best and the brightest in a global economy, which is what Bannon hates and wants to stop, wants to pull us back and wall us up. And there's no way that's going to work to our benefit. And all of those fine minds and all those young people with dreams who will come here and change medicine and change science and be Nobel Prize winner. Did you see who was one of the people at the San Francisco airport over the weekend? Was a guy who was an immigrant as a child from Russia. He was a Jew who was running from anti-Semitism in Russia. And he came here, was brought in with open arms. He founded Google. Sergey Brin, whatever it is. Yeah. And when he saw what was happening, he went, just as a person, to stand against this. If Trump had been president, he wouldn't have gotten in.
But the immigration standards aren't about reality. They're about giving the illusion that people feel safe. People in Minnesota and North Dakota don't feel safe, and they think that this ban will make them feel safe.
Well, of course they're wrong.
It will make them feel safe.
They're totally wrong, obviously. And if the most ignorant and fearful among us are to rule us or to be manipulated so that Trump, Bannon, Putin can rule us, then we're finished.
And that's the joke about how our generation or the generation after me, it seems like their objective is to always be safe. Life isn't safe. There's going to be risk.
We're going to find that out. We haven't figured that out now. This is quite a teachable moment. People who have had the luxury of feeling like they can control, a chaotic reality, which is life. That's what life is. A chaotic reality, are going to be disabused of that notion. We don't have control. Chaos is reality. Oh, God. All right.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, so let's remember Emma Lazarus's poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty. I memorized it as a kid because it was so beautiful to me. See if my memory as a kid is still here as an old lady. Here we go. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That's what we pretend we are. We haven't been that in some time. Roger Cohen. In their overwhelming majority, refugees are fleeing violence. They're not plotting violence against the United States. They don't put their children in rubber dinghies on the high seas because they have a choice. They do it because they have no choice. And it was fascinating that he institutes this ban, the slamming of the door on desperate people, children, women, all families. He slams the door on them on Holocaust Remembrance Day. Just as this country shamefully slammed the door on thousands upon thousands of European Jews trying to escape Hitler, the U.S. turned them away and sent them back to the concentration camps. The reason was the same, supposedly. Oh, well, we don't know if those could be German spies. Those could be German spies coming in. They were terrified. Men, women, children. Trying to get to a place where they wouldn't be hunted down and slaughtered. And on the day we remember those millions, and our hands are not clean, he puts out this order telling these terrified people, do you know there's millions upon millions of them in the world who are homeless, essentially, who are living in these refugee camps. I'm still hearing the screening to get into this country, all those people that were turned away this weekend, the screening to get, they'd already been through years of screening. He wants extreme vetting. That's what we've got. The Cato Institute, which is not a liberal think tank. The Cato Institute did a study of refugees admitted to this country in the last 40 years. No, 50 years, 75 to 2015. And do you know what they found? The chance of an American being killed in a terrorist attack committed by a refugee is 1 in 3.64 billion. Let's round it up. Your chances, all those people who are scared that these refugees are trying to get in here to kill them, reality and fact will tell you that the chance of that happening is 1 in 4 billion. And we're going to make policy as if that number's not true? It's estimated there are as many as 65 million people right now in this world who are displaced, who are looking for a home. Through no fault of their own, you understand. Maybe we'll become displaced before it's over. Some of the people read the stories, oh my God, of people who were getting ready to come, who'd gone through, here's a young guy, he said, I was beaten and shot and knifed, and eventually he helped the American troops in Iraq. And that's what he got for helping them. And I finally fled to Lebanon. After years of interviews, years of investigation and vetting, this man who had put his life on the line to help Americans and had suffered greatly as a result, this 28-year-old was just told last week that he could go. He ran out, he bought new clothes. He said, I would wear the best clothes I have, and I wouldn't take anything else with me, not even my memories. And then he was told, you can't come. Others, a young guy whose family was killed in Afghanistan by the Taliban. He was 13 years old and essentially on his own. He had a flight, finally, scheduled for today to come. And he now will not be coming. I don't know how you can feel good about being an American. Here's somebody who's just sent me what the chancellor at Pitt wrote to students, faculty at the University of Pittsburgh. Oh, I'm sorry. I see what time it is. I am deeply troubled. I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I'm deeply troubled. I join others in the academic world who are condemning this order and calling for a sensible immigration policy without discriminating against people and without incurring potential and profound harm to our nation's system of higher education. The University of Pittsburgh has always viewed education and research as a global enterprise, one that is a vital part of our mission. Because of this, our vibrant community includes students, faculty, visiting scholars, family members, and staff with ties to the countries covered in this executive order. And then he goes forward to say, if you're anybody who is in jeopardy, gives them phone numbers, places to call, resources. And then he said, our country was founded by individuals escaping from persecution based on their religion. Our government was founded on a belief that all men are created equal. We are a nation of immigrants whose history was enriched by the waves of immigrants crossing to our shores. We'll have to just fight back. And I think our side is going to be strengthened by the incompetence and venality of the people now in control of our government. And I remind you, it is a small little group. There's no cabinet in place, and you don't want half of that cabinet in place. At the State Department, there is no leadership at all as the entire globe reels from the actions of this administration. Scary times. Scary times. Be afraid and be strong. And call the White House.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.